We're holding Be'ez Hashem Siman Ayin base in Al haGuela. Upliyahu be'enai, v'tema tema ekra. He says, it's amazing to me and it's shocking to me. Echi tachin she'imatzu shoymrei Torah mitzvahs. How could it be that there are religious Jews she'ispalu mihatzlachasam, that are impressed by the success of the Zionists in the 6-day war, v'niseihem hakoizvos, and the false miracles shal Rishaim. Ein makom lihistapik. He says there's no doubt shenasu nisim gedolim latzlachas Rishaim. He says even let's say there were nisim in the war, even if there were nisim, but everybody knows that nisim could be done for the success of the Rishaim. He says v'chein haya miyoyim harishin shenoiled Adam harishin. At the beginning of the world, in the time of Adam Rishon, ba hanachash lifatoisai, when the snake came to convince Chava and Adam, la'avor al pi Hashem, as pi Hashem, to go against the word of Hashem, v'nasu loy nisei nisim. He says the snake had amazing, miraculous things happen. The snake spoke, right? We don't find animals speaking except by Bilam's donkey, and then the Torah makes a big deal out of it. But over here, nisim happened. The snake was able to speak. Kamoishi yisbar le'el. Mavur kain b'pirkei der belezer ubedivrei redak. In Siman Tes Zion, the Rebbe brought down from the redak that nisim were done for the snake. That the snakes don't usually talk, but nisim were done. V'chein haya dor achar dor. Generation after generation, this happened again and again. Kamoishi yisbar b'dvoreinu l'mahal. I explained that back then in that section of the Sefer. It's not just stories. It's statements of Chazal and psukim that you can't deny. No yid who believes in the Torah could deny these things. It's Avodah Zarah, Daf Nun Hey. Gemara says that Daf Nun Vav. It says that sometimes the Avodah Zarah could cause it to rain, and sometimes the Avodah Zarah could come to people in a dream and ask them to sacrifice a person. These things happen, right? The Avodah Zarah could do nisim. Ve'ein zeh sipuri maisim, right? U'mimonashach, he says, either way, what do you believe? Mi she'ein ma'amin b'chol eila. Someone who doesn't believe that the Rishaim could have a miracle. Harei hu kofer b'Torah u'v'neviim u'ksuvim b'divrei Chazal. You're denying all these words that I just quoted. V'ima'amin bohem. But if you do believe already that there could be nisim for Avodah Zarah, so why would you get convinced by the Zionist miracles? To be so impressed by it that you should go and be a little bit of a Zionist. Even to move a small amount. How could you get, because of the success of the wicked in the war, the victory, how could you get affected even a small amount? Just like the Satan has the power to do nisim, Hashem sends him as his agent to create trials for people. He can make the Avodah Zarah have a nes, but he could also make different kinds of trials. Trials that are different. Amazing trials and shocking ones. No matter what he does, he can do whatever he wants in order to get to do his job, to convince people to sin. In other words, the people might have said, oh, in this case, yeah, the victory saved the lives of millions of people. All the Jews in Eretz Yisrael were saved because the Arabs were coming to kill them all. So because of the Zionist victory, they were saved. So that can't be the Satan, right? The Satan wouldn't save 3 million Jews. So on that, he's saying, no, it's not true. The Satan could do a nes in a tzura of saving. And that's also possible. V'achas hi lach ladas. One thing is what you have to know. In other words, you don't have to pay attention to the nes. Pay attention to the emunah. And all you have to know is lastume necha, to put your eyes on it, ulahabit b'shoyer shemakor advarim, to look at the source of the nes that you're claiming is the nes. Mi beten mi yatsu, from whose stomach does it come? Meaning from who does this nes emanate? Im hu derech hatzadikim asher yelchu bas. Does it come from the derech of the tzadikim? Or derech harashayim asher yikashlu ba'afela? Or is it the wicked who stumble in the darkness? In other words, who should you follow? Obviously, follow the tzaddik. So even if the Rasha has a nes, it shouldn't impress you. So someone who does believe in the success of the Zionists, it's only because of the weakness of his amunah, and he already must have had some kind of leanings towards Zionism. With one little event that happens in the world, one little excuse that comes up, these people come and they join the Zionists. But if you had a strong faith, if he has a strong faith in Hashem, it's not possible that these kinds of phenomena would cause you to go off the emunah. He says that's even if there were nisim, but really the truth is that there were no nisim. It was just a success in the war that looked like teva, and naturally speaking, it was very likely they were going to win. Right? All the experts predicted it. But even according to the Zionists, even if they think there was some kind of miracle there, how could a Jew who believes in the Torah? Oh, so now he's going on to a new problem. There were certain Rabbanim, and we're going to see in a minute maybe who it was, who compared the miracles of the 6-day war to Yetzias Mitzrayim. He said, so even if you're going to believe there was a nes, don't compare it to Yetzias Mitzrayim. I
read it in Rabbi Meller's book that when the Knesset moved to Yerushalayim, the Good newspaper said this is the happiest day since also in 2,000 years or something like that.
Wow.
Happiest day it happened to the Jewish people since Yetzias Mitzrayim or something, or the building of the Beis Hamikdash.
Okay, so that's similar to this, I guess, yeah. Kisharau Kol Yisrael B'Kol Reg, it says in the time of the Exodus from Mitzrayim, the Yidden saw at every moment Nisim Niglim, open miracles. Ka'anan, there was a cloud of Hashem over the Machane. Uman, there was man that fell from the sky. Ube'er, and there was a well that gave water. Bahali Chasim Midbar, and they walked in the desert. V'eich nimsu Yehudim shoymrei Torah mitzvah. So how could there be Yidden today who keep the Torah? Shekoisvim be'oimrim, they write and they say divrei plaster ka'elu, such false things.
Plaster's false?
Yeah, basically, yeah. Yeah, Baruch Hu Torah plaster. Hashem doesn't make his Torah false. He's going to keep his commitments. Anyway, so how could they write such things? Not only they say it's like Yetzias Mitzrayim, but he says that they overshadow Hanisim Shal Yetzias Mitzrayim Ukris Yamsuf. Afra Pumayu, dirt to their mouths. Rachmana Litzlam Mihai Daita. Hashem should save us from having such a shita. Shehu minus ukvira she'ein kamoya. Saying that is real heresy. All right, so who said this? So, just a little research. I don't know if this is what the Rebbe had in mind, but here's a page from Rabbi Yitzchak Brand. He's someone who became a Zionist, and he has a whole website with his Torahs in favor of Zionism. So he writes. Today? What? I think so. Yeah. So he writes, "B'sefer b'zois teidun kikel chai b'kirbechem, l'moreinu haGuela Rabbi Yitzchak Brand Shlita." So this is one of his talmidim writing over what he wrote in his sefer. He says, "Bahagi liyeshivas Panovich, Iyar Tavshin Chavches." He says, "I arrived in Panovich to learn in Iyar Tavshin Chavches." That's a year after the 6-day war. Okay. Shana Achrei Milchem Sheish Yomim. Shomati es hamashgiach haGuela Tzadik Rabbi Cheskel Levenstein Zatzal. The mashgiach of Panovich, Rabbi Cheskel Levenstein, right? Rabbi Chatzkel. Shadima nisim shel melchemes sheishes hayamim l'nisim shel Yetzias Mitzrayim. He compared, it's hard to believe, but he says he compared the nisim of the war to the nisim of Yetzias Mitzrayim. V'yamar harbe pa'amim. He said many times, Shezem mar alanu eich HaKadosh Baruch Hu nimtza b'soichenu. It shows that Hashem is in our midst. V'nasan lanu es ha'aretz. He gave us Eretz Yisrael azois. V'ha'aretz hi shalanu. The land is ours. V'ois to'ikivun haya az das hagoyin Reb Chaim Shmulevitz Rosh Shivas Mir Zatzal. He says, I know that Reb Chaim Shmulevitz said a similar thing, but I don't know exactly what he said. We know that Hashem is in our midst. Hagoyin Rav Shach Zatzal shekibel tafkid mashgiach noistifal tafkid Rosh Shiva be'erech b'shnas tavshel lamed hey. But Rav Shach came after this, right, in 75, a few years later. Achrei Ptiris HaMashgiach Rabbi Cheskel Levinstein Zatzal b'shnas tavshel lamed daled. So Rav Shach became both the Rosh Shiva and Mashgiach Aponovich. Diber bekibun hafuch legamri. Rav Shach went the opposite direction. V'dima melchemes sheish hayamim l'matzav shel mapilim. He compared the war to the matzav of the mapilim, the invaders of Eretz Yisrael, who invaded it before the time, and Hashem told them not to go. Mevusas al das bal vayoam Moshe. Rav Shach went with the opinion of Vayoam Moshe, or Admar Misatmar, Rabbi Yoel Bam Zatzal, umimela tamach bemuchlat behachzar shtachim. And therefore, Rav Shach promoted the return of the territories. He says, don't go up, don't fight, like Hashem said to the Yidden before they invaded Eretz Yisrael. Don't go up and don't fight because I'm not in your midst. He says, anyone who says differently from me doesn't have das Torah. He said, we can't even consider you a manig Yisrael. That's strong words, So it sounds like Rav Shach. Also, this whole story is hard to believe, but Rav Shach is saying that Rechat Levenstein was not a manig Yisrael. In Panovich, she was saying that. Basically, v'chein asar, he says he forbade al kol adam l'chavos deya b'inyan zeh. He says no one could express their opinion im zeh misnagid l'deya shelo if it's against my opinion. Also hard to believe Rav Shach would say something like that. Ki chavos das b'noisei zeh shaykh rak l'gedoyel Israel. He says only a gadol b'Yisrael could have an opinion. V'hu zeh she'amda shaloi kol das kol ha-gedolim. He says my opinion includes all the gedolim. V'chol ha-choyel kolav, anyone who disagrees, nikra she'choyel kol ha-gedolim. So basically, Rav Shach turned Panovich around and made it into an anti-Zionist yeshiva. But
not anymore.
Well, they had the flag from the beginning. That was
no, it's not like it anymore. They don't speak out on this stuff anymore.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know.
There's this rabbi is a Zionist, but he himself is Maida that Bishach said this.
Yeah, he's just saying he doesn't go with Rav Shach. He agrees with Rav Chatzkel Levenstein. Anyway,
but still, you're not going to find this kind of stuff in the Yetinaman.
That's true. Yeah.
So Zionists that's what I mentioned before. Zionists are more honest. They won't say this about Rav Shach and Yetinaman.
Right. It's true. Anyway, so the point is, so that could be who the Rebbe had in mind when he said that they compare the miracles to Yetzias Mitzrayim. Maybe. I don't know. So he says, he says, the beginning of all faith, at the beginning of when we accepted the Torah, it began with the words, he says, believe in me, I'm Hashem. Why? Because I brought you out of Mitzrayim. That's the experience that we had with Hashem that proves to us that Hashem is true. And all the other wars mentioned in the Torah, Anak, the giants in Eretz Yisrael, they had a war with them in the time of Yeshua. The war against Amalek, Midian. All these wars had miracles in them. You learn Chazal, you find there was, the sun stood still, and there were stones that came down from the sky. Uv Melchemes Midian, Mevur b'Torah Kedosha Shaloi Nifkad Mehem Ish. The Torah says no Jewish soldier was killed in the war. V'Afal Pichein Lo Nitz Tavinu b'Torah Kedosha. There's no command in the Torah. V'Lo Matzinu b'Divrei Chazal Shum Chiyav L'Zachram. We don't have any obligation to remember these wars. Ella al Zechiras Yitzias Mitzrayim. The only thing there's a chiyav to remember is Yitzias Mitzrayim. Yesh chiyav atzum b'Torah L'Zachar. It's very important. We have a whole Yontif, Pesach, the Seder, Haggadah, right? V'harba mitzvahs ad ein shir. There's many mitzvahs. Heim ozecher Yitzias Mitzrayim. They're all reminders of Yitzias Mitzrayim. Shabbos, Tefillin, right? Remind you of Yitzias Mitzrayim. Everything. Umash kasuv zachar as asher asalacha Amalek. You tell me, oh, there is a remembrance of Amalek. It says, remember what Amalek did to you. Shama lo yizachar el masha asahu berishoy. That's not a reminder of the war. It's a reminder of what Amalek did before we had a war against him. He, with his rishus, did against the Yidden. He killed the Yidden. Called nechshal machrecha. V'tzarich liskor limchayis. We have to remember to go and fight Amalek. Aval hanisim she'asa Kadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael, but Melchemes Amalek, the nisim that happened during the war, the sun stood still and everything, ein in the hands of Moshe Rabbeinu, ein shum zecher lamay sham ba'oisa parsha. That's not required to remember. The parsha Zachar never mentions those nisim. V'im kein hoidia lanu akasuv. The Torah is telling us she'ach Yitzias Mitzrayim hu yistoid kol ha'amunah v'ein duk maseh. There's nothing like Yitzias Mitzrayim. That is the foundation of Amunah. He says, I brought already the Ramban and the Torah. This is in Siman Ches. It's worth looking back at Siman Ches, just to see quickly what the Ramban and the Torah say. Siman Ches, Uv'chlal harayin hazeh, l'damoyse Yitzias Mitzrayim. This whole idea of comparing the war to Yitzias Mitzrayim, who kfir mamish b'ikrei emunah. It's complete denial of the ikrei emunah. Shahar Yitzias Mitzrayim b'ikrei emunah k'moish kasav atur b'simen taf chat reish chaf hey. That it says Tala hakasuv. This is the Torah now. Tala hakasuv mitzvah sukkah b'Yitzias Mitzrayim. That the Torah makes sukkah connected with Yitzias Mitzrayim. It says Kiva Sukkos Hoshavti es Bnei Yisrael b'Hoitzi'i Oisam Me'eretz Mitzrayim. V'chein harba mitzvahs. Many mitzvahs are like that. L'fi shehu davar shero'inu b'einenu. Because Yitzias Mitzrayim is something we ourselves saw. Uvi'aznenu shamanu. We heard it with our ears from our parents. V'ein adam yachol lahachti sheinu. There's no one who could deny it. There's no one who could tell us that we're wrong. It's not like something we believe based on one thing and then we have someone who convinces it out of us. We can't be convinced out of it because we saw it ourselves. This teaches us the truth of the existence of Hashem. He's the creator of the world. He's the one who has the power. He can do whatever he wants. That's what he did when he took us out of Mitzrayim. He changed the rules of nature to show that he's the creator of the world. Ad kan l'shoinai. That's the Torah, showing the importance of Yitzias Mitzrayim. And then the Ramban is Matzinu b'divrei Ramban Parshas Ekev Hanal Sha'al Milchemes Lamed Aleph Melachim. The war of the 31 kings of Yoshua Shehiflig Akastuv Ma'oid Ba'oitzim Gedulas Godlam Ugvurastam Kamash Kosav Asher Atay Data V'Toshamata Mizativ Nebnei Anak, that they were powerful kings. V'oid B'cham Psukim Koelu V'Afal Pichein Hutzrach HaKosav L'Havi Rayim Yitzias Mitzrayim. Even though the war of Canaan was a miraculous war, we still have to bring proof from Yitzias Mitzrayim. Why? There was never any event in history that was as much of a change in nature as Yitzias Mitzrayim. Did it ever happen in history that Hashem came to take one people out of another? There will never be such an event until the coming of Mashiach. So at that time there will be something similar. V'hi nevuah l'mois Mashiach. That's a prophecy about the future. V'chiv atorah kedosha lahaskir yitzis mitzrayim beis pa'amim b'chol yom. You have to mention it twice a day. K'dei lahashri shu amuna b'li boisteinu. Yeah, so the Ramban says, Klor, like the Rebbe is saying, he says that there's no mitzvah to remember the other wars, and the other wars are not proofs to the existence of Hashem, it's only Yitzis Mitzrayim. So to go and compare the Zionist war to Yitzis Mitzrayim is like the height of sacrilegiousness. U'maisa tatuim kuelu, he says, these, we're back in Siman Ayin base now.
When it was an avoidable war.
Yeah. U'maisa tatuim kuelu, these foolish things, shall Rishaim Gemurim, that these complete wicked people did. Asher kol bar das yuchal lahavin. Anybody who has any understanding could know she'ein bohem mamash shel nisim, that they really weren't miracles. All the experts thought that the Israelis were going to win the war. Umedamin zeh b'chada machto mitzias mitzrayim, and they compare this in the same breath with Yitzis Mitzrayim. Harei zeh zilzul atzum litzis Mitzrayim. That's a complete denigration, and it's like making fun of Yitzis Mitzrayim. Umaktinim neis shel Yitzis Mitzrayim. You're lowering the importance and the stature of Yitzis Mitzrayim. Shehu yisoid kol amuna, which is the foundation of all amuna. Be'oifen noyer moed. Umizeh atzmoi raya gedola. The fact that people say such a thing is b'chlal. Why would anyone say such a crazy thing? The fact that they said it is a raya, is a proof shekol zois huchan be'atzos hasamach mem, that the whole war was something that the Samach Mem arranged. Asher miskabra b'chol koichoi lahasis uladiach behamonas niseim, that he's trying as hard as he can to make people believe in their nisim. Umeata ein tema devada yesh bekoichenu liyos meshiv chachamim achar. Yesh bekoichoi. There's no surprise that the Samach Mem has the ability to even take chachamim, even people who are considered gedolei ador, and meshiv chachamim achar v'daitam yisakel. It's a pasuk. More quotes in Gittin that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai didn't know what to answer. So he says same thing here, that these chachamim, Rabbi Chatzkel Levenstein, other people like him, were meshiv achar. Hashem made them. Hashem sent the Samach Mem to make them make such mistakes. They say things that sound crazy. They sound like they're completely far from any normal person's thinking. And the reason why is because it's a trial for us. So Hashem sends the Samach Mem to make these people do these things and say these things.